This video is brought to you by Fanco. Based on the recently released Big Ten Preseeds, there are going to be some electric matchups even before the finals get here. Just look at the semifinals when we could see Gable Steveson versus Mason Paris, Drake Ayala versus Drew Hildebrand, Ridge Lovett versus Austin Gomez, and Alex Marinelli versus Dean Hamidi. And those aren't even my most anticipated matchups of the weekend. What are they? Let's stop stalling and start talking wrestling. What's going on, wrestling fans? My name's Josiah, and welcome to Fanco Wrestling, your source for college wrestling news and discussion. And you heard that right. The Big Ten has announced the pre-seeds for the Big Ten championships. Brackets are soon coming out, so things can still change before the weekend. But I wanted to give you a look at the my top five most anticipated matchups of the Big Ten championships. I tried to put a little bit of variety in it and not make it just all Penn State and Iowa matchups or just all finals matchups. And truth be told, I'm really looking more forward to the semifinals than even the finals. And before we get to number 5, here's a quick look at that schedule for this weekend. So the championships start on Saturday at 11 a.m. The semis run at 6:30 p.m. Then the finals will be on Sunday at 4:30 p.m. on the Big Ten Network or Big Ten Plus. I'll have more details about how to watch all the conference championships in another video this week. So at number 5 is an interesting one to start the weekend. Brady Berge and Caleb Young. Yes, this is one of those interesting Iowa and Penn State matchups and will affect the team's score depending on which way the outcome goes. But look at these two guys. I mean, Caleb Young has had some ups and downs this year, got pinned in December, but then recently had a great win over Peyton Robb of Nebraska, who he earlier this year beat Austin O'Connor, last year's national champion, at 149. Brady Berge, on the other hand, has had a relatively decent year as well, but I think his storyline is more interesting because he's dropping down from 165 to 157. Now with that, he's not just going to have a ride in the park to get to Caleb Young. First, he has to beat Garrett Model, who, yes, he beat him last year by major decision, and even he wrestled Caleb Young last year at the national championships. He beat him in the second round by a 3-2 score. Then, once he got to the quarters, he had the injury default out, and Caleb Young ended up placing 7th at the national championship, so he placed above Berge. This is their rematch, and we'll see what each of these guys will bring. And you should be anticipating this matchup. And something else you need to anticipate if you're a wrestler is skin infection like ringworm, impetigo, acne, and dry skin. And the best way to prevent this is by having clean and healthy skin. And that's important not just for wrestlers, but for anybody, including myself, which is why I use Defense soap products on a daily basis. Whether after a quick afternoon workout or during my nightly shower routine. Their soap, body wipes, and other products are natural and clean and promote healthier skin. Plus, if you want to know my favorite part, it's that they're made in the USA. So if you want to know what it feels like to truly have cleaner, healthier skin, you can go to defensesoap.com and enter coupon code FANCO for 15% off your first order. And that moves us to number 4 at 165 pounds, Carson Hartzler and Alex Marinelli. This is the number 1 and number 2 seed of Ohio State and Iowa. And this weight is interesting across every single conference. But just look at these two guys who, if they do meet up, it will be in the finals. They met up earlier this season in January during a dual meet when Hartzler picked up an escape and then a takedown in the third period to beat and upset Alex Marinelli. Now, Hartzler has been on a rampage since the Cliff Keen Las Vegas tournament in December. He hasn't lost since then. We'll see if he can pull it into this weekend. Marinelli, on the other hand, while he did lose to Hartzler, he's really rebounded in a good way. He beat Berge while he was at 65, beat Travis Whitlake, and recently beat Dean Hamidi. All great wins. Now, notoriously, while Marinelli hasn't always performed to his peak in the NCAA tournament, he has blown out of the water the Big Ten championships. This year, he's even seeking his 4th title. What's interesting now, although he beat Ethan Smith in the past and Vincenzo Joseph, now Marinelli is the old man on the chopping block. And if he meets Hartzler in the finals, it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because winning the 4th title in the Big Ten would be a huge, huge accomplishment. At number 3, we got to move down a couple weights to 149 pounds, which is really interesting in the top few seeds. Sasso has that number 1 seed, and Gomez has the number 2 seed. It's not even guaranteed that both these guys are going to make the finals. Sasso still has to potentially get past Max Murin, who he just barely beat earlier this season, and on the other side of the bracket, Austin Gomez has to get past Ridge Lovett, who he beat by just a 2-point margin. Both these guys actually had those wins earlier this season in the same weekend, and they have a few different similarities. Both of these guys have last losses from earlier this season to Yanni Diakomahalis of Cornell. Sasso lost 6-2, Gomez lost 12-6. The similarities go on with their records. Sasso is 20-1, a dominating record. Gomez similarly has a dominating record of 15-2. But as far as their styles and how they are on the mat, I think that's where it's going to become interesting. Gomez is going to be going, attacking Sasso, but Sasso is nearly impossible to take down. It's going to be tough for Gomez to take him down. In fact, it kind of reminds me of the tournament earlier this year, which, by the way, another similarity, both these guys have placed second at major tournaments this year, where Gomez placed second at the Matman Open to Josh Heil, which that match actually reminds me of what this could be like, because Gomez was attacking Heil a bit more defensive, and Gomez unable to take him down. We'll see if Gomez can really take out Sasso and give him something or not. At number 2 is my last Penn State and Iowa matchup. So who's at number 1? Well, we'll get to that in just a second. But Kemmerer and Starocci is going to be an incredible, no, not finals match, semifinals match. How the heck did that happen? Well, Starocci is undefeated this year. He beat Massa of Michigan, who beat Labriola of Nebraska, who beat Kemmerer of Iowa. So what does that mean for us? It means we're going to get some incredible semifinals matches at 174 pounds. Now, these two have met 3 times in their college careers so far. Recently, in the dual meet, I mean, that was kind of the crazy one where Kemmerer almost had a takedown at the end of the overtime period. And then points were awarded and taken away, back and forth. It was just a crazy match, but ultimately, Starocci ended up victorious 2-1 in the tiebreakers. Before that, in the national finals, that one went to overtime when Starocci earned a takedown on Kemmerer. But Kemmerer does hold a win over Starocci, and that was actually at the Big Ten Championships last year. So what was the difference in that match? Well, you kind of look at the scoring, and Kemmerer was really able to get in deep on all his shots and finish them. Not only that, but Kemmerer is scoring on Starocci defensively, and he earned a takedown and even some back points on Starocci. And with every one of these matches, these guys kind of fine-tune every little detail and technique move. So we'll see what is different this time around. I can't wait. I'm super anticipating this matchup, but not as much as the number 1 matchup. Now, at 41 are 2 guys at 141 pounds, where we just have a really loaded weight up top with Nick Lee, Jaden Ironman, Sebastian Rivera, even Stefan Micic at the number 6 spot, who's a former national finalist. But the matchup that I'm really looking forward to is Jaden Ironman and Sebastian Rivera in the semifinals. Now, you got to remember that Sebastian Rivera is seeking another Big Ten title, his 3rd title, actually. In the past, he knocked off Spencer Lee to win 125 pounds. He knocked off RBY to win 133. And this year, he's seeking that 141-pound title over the rest of the pack. Now, it's not guaranteed that he's even going to get into the semifinals or even the finals. I mean, first of all, he's got to get past Stefan Micic in the quarterfinals, who those two have wrestled in the past when Micic beat Rivera in a super match. Back when Rivera was at 125, he bumped up to 133 and lost. Now both these guys are at 141. And then in the semifinals, Jaden Ironman, I mean, this match is going to be wild, and they haven't even met in college yet. Last year, they were on opposite sides of the Big Ten brackets. At Nationals, they were on opposite sides of the bracket as well. This season, they didn't meet up at any tournaments. Iowa and Rutgers didn't wrestle in a dual meet. But let's take a look at how they'll match up. Just looking at their records, Rivera is 22-0, undefeated on the season. Nearly all of his wins are by bonus point. Ironman, on the other hand, yeah, he's had some close matches, but he's won all of them except for the one against Nick Lee. So he's 15-1 going into the Big Ten Championships. Both these guys are a bit funky, and sparks are going to fly. And Shane Sparks, the Big Ten commentator, is going to be losing his mind just like me watching this. It's going to be anything goes, wild, high-flying match, high-scoring, and I can't wait for it. If you made it to this point in the video, comment a fish emoji if you think Seabass is going to pull off the victory, or if you think Ironman is going to beat him, comment a hawk. Now, don't forget to claim your 15% off coupon code at defensesoap.com. That's code FANCO to stay squeaky clean and anticipate those skin diseases in the postseason and beyond. I can't wait for the upcoming Big Ten championships, and I can't wait to discuss it with you after the weekend is over. Until then, I'll talk to you soon.